Welcome back to Young Turks. He isn't into advertising, he isn't into brand consulting, he's not a product designer, neither is he a researcher. And yet Anand Chhatpar has made a business from generating ideas. Anand Chhatpar knows that a simple idea can change your life. After all, ideas like these have changed his. Though he went to the United States to study computer engineering, his current job doesn't have much to do with it. As CEO of Brain Reactions, you can now best describe Anand Chhatpar as an ideas man.
In engineering, we had an invention contest.
Okay.
And one of my close friends, Osman, and I were really passionate about getting into the contest and hopefully winning something. So we participated with a number of inventions and tried to win it. We never did, but in the process, met a lot of very creative people, and eventually we won a little small award called the Tong Prototype Prize for the best prototype. This was after 12 attempts
Okay.
at making the prototype. And eventually, because of such recognition, both of us were offered an internship at a place called Concept Studio on the East Coast in a huge company called Pitney Bowes.
Okay.
And the Concept Studio is basically a place which is very creative. The whole goal of the department is to come up with new ideas for corporations.
What is the formal training in how innovation works? Because most people tend to think that innovation is just ideas. They should come.
Right. No, I mean, there are a lot of interesting techniques and processes that have been developed through research that support systematic innovation. For example, I mean, we studied how ethnographic research or certain observation skills that are, typically the anthropologist domain can be used in a workplace to observe your customers and find their unvoiced needs and pain points. Something which they will not tell you they have. We figured out certain needs and pain points using ethnographic research. We brought that insight back to the studio, and we used to come up with new ideas for how we could solve those problems that we just observed. And the funny thing was, we as students were coming up with more new ideas than the people who had been in the studio for, say, several years.
And less jaded and less cynical.
Absolutely. Less cynical and also less constrained by what is possible and what is not possible. So when I came back to school, I used to enjoy this process so much that I used to organize brainstorming parties on campus with some of the friends that I had made during these invention contests. So in one of these sessions and parties essentially, I invited Nate Altfeather. Nate Altfeather is basically one of the guys who had won the first place in the invention contest, a $10,000 prize. And this guy, during this brainstorm, was amazed with the ideas that these people were coming up with. And he suggested that I should do this professionally. He said, this is something companies would pay for. You're creating valuable intellectual property here. I mean, some of these ideas are patentable, which has a lot of value, at least in the US. So I said, fine, let's do it. And eventually we were trying to sell it to companies as a service. And it was very difficult. Every time we used to call a corporation, the big vice president or whatever would say, what can you students give me as ideas? I have 300 of the best engineers under me and all that. So that was,
you didn't have a showcase actually.
Yeah, we did not have anything to show for us. So anyways, we by some luck and also some blessings from our mentors, Tom Forth, who was my supervisor from my Pitney Bowes internship, spoke with the vice president at Bank of America and convinced them that they should try us out. And they decided to do that, and that became our first paying customer. And we got started on that, and they really liked the results, and we got some testimonials from them. They were very happy. So now
what were the ideas you came up with? I'm sure you have non-disclosure agreements and all of that, but something that you could come up with that you can share with us.
They were trying to figure out new products for the future of banking and technology. So we came up with new ideas for them for the future of banking and mobile banking and so on for 2010.
How many of them have been implemented or are being implemented?
So I mean, recently I was traveling from New York to Boston on the Mass Pike, and I saw a sign In the US, you might know that highways have a sign that says food next exit, gas next exit. Those are the essential things. And we had suggested this thing that I saw implemented there that said Bank of America ATM next exit.
Okay.
And that's something I was very happy to see as an implemented idea.
A brainstorming session like this could throw up as many as 100 to 200 ideas. Anand usually acts as the moderator who filters down these ideas to the most workable ones. Brain Reactions believes that students who have not yet entered the grind of a job are the real idea generators. So to be part of a brainstorm, having a full-time job is a strict no-no.
But while the good part is that you have, college students or people who've just graduated and they're not constrained by the pressures of real world and they don't have to keep their ideas bound in reality.
Yes.
Don't you have to deliver to your clients ideas that are really implementable, and how can you put that check?
Right, and that's absolutely an essential part of the value that we provide our clients is we are the ones who are writing the reports. So when we are creating those reports, our job is to figure out the themes that emerged from these hundreds of ideas. Now, before the brainstorm is conducted, we have detailed sessions with the client to closely understand what it is they are looking for from the session. Now then, once you understood that, we have a good clue of which of these hundreds of ideas they will be able to then move forward into implementation and so on. So we kind of bridge that gap.
And all the 100 ideas become the client's intellectual property.
Absolutely. Hundreds and hundreds of ideas. I mean, we have never had a session with fewer than 200 ideas.
Have you also changed your pricing around a lot?
Our current pricing is that we charge for a basic brain reaction package $12,000, and then we also have a premium package for $19,800. And for our regular customers, we have a subscription package, so they can get 4 brainstorms a year for $44,000 for the basic and $71,000 for a premium package.
I track the advertising industry, so I can only give the example here. We're always talking about where's the big idea.
Yes.
If ideas are so difficult to come by,
yes,
or actually easy to come by if you would only look, isn't there a fear sometimes that someone else can start something like this?
Yes. I mean, so one of our core strengths is the proprietary selection mechanism that we've created for finding these brainstormers. See, the output of the brainstorm depends on the raw material you put into the brainstorm.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. Not just the facilitation, but the brains who are present there. So the system that we've developed of ranking these people, has certain proprietary statistical technology behind it. When we do our screening, we look at not only how many new ideas somebody comes up with, how many times they change the direction of the brainstorm, how often they build on other people's ideas.
Anand is a huge fan of Richard Branson and wishes he could live his life like him and run his company like his. When not racking his brains for ideas for clients, Anand puts his to use writing poetry. And we decided to make him give us some ideas for free for Young Turks.
You're talking about young leaders essentially, and I think not only interviewing some of these people, but also you could follow the progress of certain people who are just starting out. You already have a database of people who you've interviewed, and you could have these people give suggestions to these young people who are starting out, and you can get them to progress. So your show could become a challenge for bringing or creating Young Turks as opposed to finding and interviewing them. That's an idea. One idea is that essentially people who do achieve success at any young age are not necessarily that different from anybody else who's on the street. They are like the common person. So bringing that message to the viewer could be done by showing people in a common environment, for example on the road or in a place where they've started out, as opposed to showing them as successful people or highlighting achievements, showing maybe things at which they're bad at. Everybody is imperfect, so perhaps.
What are you bad at? We're going to get that shot.
No, I mean there are several things that I would be bad at. I mean, first of all, I'm not a very good brainstormer. I started this company, but it is definitely other brainstormers in our company who come up with the best ideas.
Some fresh ideas for Young Turks there. It's time for a short break, but when we come back, we'll find out more about our young Turks.